Oof. Another one bites the dust. Back-to-back losses against the Atlanta Hawks. This one went into overtime. 123-122. I don't love how the Celtics ended that game at all. I don't love how the Celtics played that game at all. But it was shot for shot the entire game. There was no heavy run for the Celtics this time. There was no heavy run for the Atlanta Hawks. However, the late game woes are still an issue for the Boston Celtics, which does worry me heading into the playoffs. So on today's show on Celtics Today by Chat Sports, you got me, your host, Allie Barefoot. You got producer Smitty in here. We're answering your questions because there's a lot of them now up in the air after the Celtics did lose back-to-back on the road with less than 10 regular season left to play in the NBA regular season here. So the first question starting it off here is Mr. Ben Jones. Are you worried about the C's late game execution in the playoffs? Funny you mentioned that, Mr. Ben Jones, because I'm terrified. The word worried isn't in my vocabulary anymore. I am frightened at a 7-game series with a real competitor, not the Hawks, who are in 10th place in the Eastern Conference. I'm worried that there is no game plan. I truly am, because if there is a game plan and it's to have Tatum dribble 19, 20 times while the clock runs out to settle for an off-balance mid-range jumper, you will not see Banner 18 this year. Smitty, something has to change. It doesn't necessarily have to be to have Tatum take or not take the clutch shot, the final shot, but like you said, to give him some help.
I mean, listen, I know the NCAA tournament games are going on right now. It is, you don't have to draw up the most dynamic set that has ever been assembled for a backdoor layup that it just looks like you're a basketball wizard. You just have to put your players in a position to succeed, and that's not pounding the ball out near half court when the defense is getting more stamina in that amount of time. They're getting more confident because they're up on you, and you're really not doing much about it. Nobody else on the court seems to be concerned with what's going on out near half, and that player eventually, Jayson Tatum usually most of the time, gets around the three-point arc. He kind of can't find his dribble, and he ends up putting a bad shot up. Yeah. Listen, I don't care about settling for jump shots late in the shot clock or in late-game situations. That is fine. But if you go back to the Cleveland game, for example, that was actually not the worst late-game scenario for the last shot of the game. Obviously, in possessions before that, there were issues. But in the last possession of the game, they got the switch on Jayson Tatum onto Darius Garland. And that is a smaller defender that you have to take advantage of in those scenarios to make your shots as efficient and as easy as possible. So the Celtics clearly aren't doing that, especially in a game where they're tied. They just seem to be content with going to overtime.
They do. They want it.
What's up with that? Why do you want 5 minutes extra basketball when you can clearly out-talent and out-physical your opponent? They just haven't done that, and it's scaring me heading into a postseason where defense gets more physical, defense gets more tight, and you're playing better competition. You're not playing the Hawks for 4 straight weeks in the NBA playoffs. No, you're playing the Knicks, who can push you around, the Nuggets, who already have your number, potentially the Thunder, who have your number so far this season. They got fresh legs as well. I am through with the Celtics defense right now, and it's not exactly something I'm encouraged by heading into the postseason.
No, it's not, because when you're up by 40 and you see the team that's just dribbling it out at half court, just trying to wait for that clock to run out, they're not worried about anything. That's what the Celtics look like, but there's 12 seconds left on the clock and the game is tied. And it's extremely unfortunate to watch. I guarantee you that question is going to come up one more time because I don't see it changing, and if it doesn't, it's going to be a long road to Banner 18. But now I have to ask you guys, because we just lost 2 in a row to the Hawks, and here's the main picture. The loss itself in the column does not matter, but the game they just played does, because of the bad habits you have just shown me, not in one game now, but 2. How confident are you guys in Boston Celtics winning Banner 18? Can I give it a solid 6?
I mean, 6, I would probably still give it a 7 or an 8, but
I'm going 6.
It has not been something I've been thoroughly enthused by this home stretch, that's for sure.
I don't blame you, but you know what? Going ahead and scale it down 1 to 10, 1 being absolutely not, 10 being absolutely. I think they're going to win Banner 18 this year. And while you guys are doing that, why don't you head on over to prizepicks.com/CLNS and test your skills to see if you guys can win yourself up to 100 times your money. All you guys have to do is pick between 2 to 6 players and just pick more or less. 50-50 takes less than 60 seconds to make your picks on a player's projected stats, and you can win up to 100 times your money, especially right now With as little as 4 correct picks, you can turn $10 into $1,000 with NBA, NHL, and college basketball entries here today. These were my prize picks during last night's game when I did have Jaylen Brown having more than 24.5 points. Well, he only had 18 in this ball game. I did pick a demon, which is supposed to be a hard or projected stat line. And then I had Alex Wood having more than 3.5 points, rebounds. I had Alex Wood having more than 3.5 pitcher strikeouts. MLB just started. Give me a break. And RJ Davis to have more than 22.5 points. But you guys can go ahead and make your prize picks right now, especially for Flex Friday. You can have an entry up to $20, and if you don't win, you get your money back. So go on ahead and go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use that promo code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy. Amanda Teresa coming in.
Now, I know we just kind of went through a whole rant there about the Celtics late game woes in the last question. We'll try to be a little quicker here through the rest of the mailbag so we can get more of you guys involved.
Overall, we do think we should extend Jrue Holiday because I think he makes an extreme difference in your backcourt. Maybe not in that last shot DeJounte Murray had in overtime.
Yeah,
but,
he was looking like quicksand Jrue today. He kind of got stuck on a lot of defensive spots.
But give him a break. He came back from missing 5 games with a sprained AC joint. We show you mercy. Jrue Holiday, but I do think he is a difference maker in the backcourt. I would sign him for 2 years, $60 million in the offseason. I know Smitty and I have talked about that on other videos as well. If you want to go get our full response on what we think of Jrue Holiday's contract extension, just go ahead and click on one of our previous videos on Celtics Today by Chat Sports. Josh rolling in here with another picture. How can the Celtics improve their offensive gameplay? Josh, we don't have enough time in this video.
We kind of are what we are.
To break down what we can fix on our offensive gameplay. Number one, if we're talking in terms of scoring, I'm okay with what the C's have on resources. I'm okay with the assists. I love it a lot more when we spread out the offense. I think we are more successful when we spread out the offense because you forget how many resources the Celtics have. The offensive rebounding has got to be better. It has to. That's the only thing I'm going to change on our offensive gameplay.
That's the thing. Yeah, I guess in that scenario, you have to have more guys crash because the Celtics aren't the most physically imposing rebounding team. That's why they kind of get pushed around by a guy like Clint Capella and the guys crashing the boards there for Atlanta in these last 2 games. But offensively, I just think, this team, we kind of know what it is now. If they can't hit threes, then they're not going to win a lot of basketball games. And, if they're not playing defense at a high level and turning that into quick offense tailored around the three-point line, they're just not going to be playing their game, and they're going to be taken out of their offense by a lot of teams. So when it comes down to it, it's Missoula ball. These guys got to hit their jumpers, and when they're not falling, I'm just not too enthused about how they can finish 4 games out of 7 against a team like Denver or whatnot.
And it kind of rolls in this question here by Amanda. Do you think Jaylen Brown's contract is worth the way he's playing? I absolutely do. I know JB gets a lot of hate for mistakes that he will make, and there are some areas he can improve, and that's good. You want improvement, but I do think Jaylen Brown is playing the best basketball that he possibly is right now, especially after the All-Star break. He's been averaging about 28, 29 points per game, and I do think a lot of these games would not be as close if JB wasn't putting up the numbers that he is. Jrue Holiday even just jumped in on the Draymond Green show and talked about how much of a dog he is, so I think emotionally and physically, he is absolutely worth the money that he is being paid. And we're going to see if Jayson Tatum is going to make more than him in the offseason. But JB is doing the damn thing right now.
JB, I mean, he has, since the All-Star break, like you mentioned, he's just been on fire. He's been playing efficient. He's limiting turnovers. He's attacking the rim. I don't know if his free throw stat is up per se since that stretch, but it feels like he's been better in that department. Maybe it's because the rest of his game is playing at such an elite level as well. He's looking to make another All-NBA team this season. I could see him on the All-Defensive team as well, but Jaylen Brown is clearly playing like an elite number 2 option right now on both ends. And, I mean, he was Boston's best player in an NBA Finals series against Golden State 2 years ago. I'm very confident in how he can perform in the playoffs. Last year is so far gone. He's playing at an elite level now, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
I don't just trust JB. I also trust Jayson Tatum in our next question here. I do think he is the player I want to have leading my team to a championship. There are very few players out there, Steph Curry, LeBron James, Giannis being one of them, and I do think that Tatum is along those lines. Tatum was the leading scorer here for the Boston Celtics tonight. He dropped a 30-piece. He nearly had a triple-double. He had 13 rebounds, 31 points, and 6 assists versus the Hawks. So I do think that Jayson Tatum is the key to the Boston Celtics' success. But That's just me. I want to ask you guys, do you believe in Jayson Tatum? Type JT if you think he can lead Boston to the title. There are a lot of issues happening with Boston right now, but they have been in Atlanta all week long. So, unfortunately, they did drop 2 to the Hawks. Not what you want. They're still okay. They're still on par for the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. They've already secured that. So, type JT in the comments if you guys agree. Noah Rubin, longtime fan here of Celtics Today, saying, how many all-defensive players do you think we have? You got Drew. You got Derrick White, who's leading the NBA in blocks.
At players under
6'5" or under. Thank you. I was getting here. And I do think that'll probably be it. Maybe Jaylen Brown.
I think Jaylen Brown has a good chance at getting
I
all
do.
defensive.
I do.
He's had one of the best on-ball defensive grades of any player in the NBA this year, especially among wings. And he's limiting opponents to very low percentage from the field. I mean, I watched him lock up Luka Doncic one night. This guy has clearly elevated his game on both ends.
Yeah.
Derrick White is obviously a stalwart. We know this. And Drew Holiday, I'm not sure if he will crack the all-defensive teams this year. The first half of the season definitely got him there. But as far as this last stretch of basketball, he has not been the defender that I think Celtics fans anticipated heading into the playoffs.
I do agree, but unfortunately, I think that we're going to have to wait until the end of the regular season to see what awards are going to be awarded. But I do think the number one thing the Celtics want is the Banner 18. They don't give a shit about personal accolades.
Yeah, there's no
right
accolades, no stats. We're not worrying about it.
Nope.
I just think this group, they might not have the best player in the NBA, but it's the best assembled team that you can make to win a championship without the best player in the NBA, i.e. Nikola Jokic. So if anybody's going to beat them, the Celtics are assembling their group of Avengers. They're playing at a high level, but these last couple of games, since they clinched that number 1 seed in the East, have not been great.
Well, if you guys want more analysis and breakdown of the Boston Celtics, you guys are in the right spot. Celtics Today by Chat Sports. Go on ahead and hit that sub button. We go live for every single Boston Celtics game, and we bring you guys 5 to 6 videos a week. So all you guys have to do is hit that sub button for me.